$5.99? Are you insane?
Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Another guilty pleasure of mine is to look at the home arcade market, right? And not only at all the drama, but really what I like is to look at these businesses just burn through capital, right? By just doing basically what are rookie mistakes. You know, these companies, and so many of these launches just failed just to do the basics. You know, product failure, guys, and I'm going to talk to you, more as a business analyst, just rather than, just a YouTuber here. And maybe you don't want to get into the weeds, but, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about basics like SWOT analysis and stuff like that. So, I hope that you enjoy the video and, just take it for what it's worth. If anything, I look at these companies and I try to learn to make sure we don't reproduce the same mistakes out there, because there's people that work on these things, or professionals that work on these things, and a lot of this that I'm about to tell you is self-evident to you out there that are, that follow the arcade market. You know these things. You don't need a college degree to make these observations, but these guys that get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars miss the most basic things. Now, when it comes to a bad product launch, it's either the accent comes through sometimes. It's either a bad idea, or in this case, weak market research, which is ignored customer service feedback, for example, poor operational planning. This basic fun Wrestlefest, comes out in 2025 after we had all the experience from all the other vendors, right? They've made all the mistakes. But this arcade cabinet shows how skipping fundamental business analysis of the most basic type can ruin a strong concept. And when I'm telling you a strong concept, I'm not kidding you. You guys remember the buzz around this thing when they first started talking about it? It was huge. It was, there's nothing else going on in the market. So they were it. All you have to do is chip it in for 3 feet away, and these guys, just missed the putt. They fumbled the ball, if you will. This should have been a win, but basic funds missteps, let me tell you, pricing, as you can see, $600. I mean, what are you thinking? Are you nuts? Quality control, it's terrible. I mean, what I'm seeing right now from the videos that people are posting, the pictures, it's not good, right? And these basic missteps are going to cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars. You only get one chance to make a good impression, and these guys are fumbling the ball constantly. It's like nobody taught them to go to business school, it's just incredible. A proper business analysis, would involve identifying customers' needs, assessing the competitors. Hello, arcade went up, right? Evaluating costs, and creating a product that meets both, not only the requirements of the customer, operational requirements, if you will, you want to call them that, but also the market requirements. We know already that $600 is the barrier for these things. Nobody's paying $600. And why? Because you're going to spend $600, and then you got to spend, if you really want something semi-decent, you got to spend another $400. So now you're at $1,000. At $1,000, you could buy an actual arcade machine. Now, guys, there is a market for this, right? Where I probably don't agree with certain critics out there is I do believe there's a market for this, because people are buying them, right? They've sold millions at this point. So there is a market for this. Who is this for? People who live in apartments, people who don't have that much space, people who can't carry heavy things upstairs, things like that, right? And for me, I could tell you how I use them as a gamer. For me, they're just really ornament pieces and furniture that my kids and my guests get to enjoy. When I want to play some real Street Fighter, I'm not going to play on the Big Blue, but when I'm playing with my grandkids, I am playing in the Big Blue. You know what I'm saying? So it's a nostalgia type of stuff, but at the end of the day, it's not a real arcade machine. And I don't think most people out there, they're going to purchase these, if they're real gamers, are going to think of them that way. But with that said, there is a market for them, but it can't be at $600, right? We know what the price is. Now, this machine included Wrestlefest and WW Superstars, I believe. But it doesn't have a strong lineup. Wrestlefest was really it, but not if you're missing the main, characters a lot of people want to see, right? You're modifying the game, and that's really always a downgrade, if you will. Now, competitors like Arcade 1UP, now the defunct, iArcade, right? In some cases, they offered superior build to this at comparable or even lower prices, right? Reviews on Facebook, and in gaming forums are terrible for this thing so far. It's missing features, Wi-Fi, the light and marquee is crap or non-existent at this point, improper control panel ergonomics, like the Shield are not there. They're just not there. These are basic expectations today for a lot of people in the home gaming market. And if you're not going to have them, well, are you going to give them a price break? No, you still want the $600. Now, there's a coupon out there for $100, so even that marketing is crap. It's so weak. Just everything about this launch is weak. Let's start number one. These are the missteps in business analysis that I could see, in my area of work, right? And again, you guys, this is not going to be for everybody, guys, but, if you are in business or if you plan to launch a business, we can take, and this is what I do, I can take these bad steps that these companies make and make sure that I don't make them when I'm doing my recommendations or when I'm doing my market research. I want to make sure that I don't make these failures, because you only get one shot. As a consultant, if you give somebody bad information or you don't give them the right information, that's the last time they're going to hire you, right? So you really have to be on your toes when you're conducting this kind of, data gathering, if you will. Basic Fun failed to identify the core buyers, right? The retro gaming customers. And it's really a market that's already been established for Arcade 1UP, right? And what does that market prioritize? We already know it's authenticity, accuracy, and build quality, right? That's really what people are looking for, and already, when people are missing, wrestlers like, who was it? Sergeant Slaughter, Andre the Giant, Macho Man. Those are things that if you had a well-developed team, and it doesn't seem like you have a team, and a lot of this, guys, has to do with the budget that these companies put into market research and the teams that work on these projects, because they are business projects in the long run, but they don't treat them that way. But if you have a well-developed team, right, and those include shills, by the way, right, because you need to promote your product, but at the same time, you want to get feedback. If you're going to have some challenges like this, what do you need? I think anybody in the community would have told them, look, if you're not going to give me all the wrestlers, give me a weight tomato. Right? What is that going to cost you? Another $20 on the board? Just give me SD card slot. That's all you need. It's not even going to be that, right? And these are the issues that are discussed by fans. And these guys just, they just screw the pooch. They just miss it. They completely miss it. Now, and you can see where they do poor competitive benchmarking on the price, right? Arcade 1UP models, whatever you want to say, which is their competitor. I'm not saying they're great, okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the best product in the market, right? But there's their main competitors. At this point, they are the benchmark in the market, right? And these models often include Wi-Fi and a little bit more dynamic marquees than what this is showing, right? And it's for, the same price, $599. So if you're going to offer the same thing, but don't offer less for the same price. Basic Fun completely ignored these benchmarks and released a stripped down cabinet at a similar price. There's no differentiation here. Why should they buy your cabinet when they can just buy a cheaper one and mod it and just do that? Buy a used one. You know what I'm saying? This is not an impulse buy. This is a different kind of cabinet. And it really shows that they didn't do any, lack of cost benefit balance at all. At $4.99, $5.99, whatever coupon they have, the cabinet costs too much for casual buyers, and delivers very little for collectors because it's a stripped down version of the game. It would be a good value maybe at $250 because you have to mod the crap out of it, right? But for $600, it's not. It's mispriced. clearly mispriced. Anybody that has ever bought an arcade cabinet could tell you that this is mispriced, right? And a cost analysis and test launch would have identified that from the get-go. So why didn't anybody do it? I mean, what I gather, guys, there is no SWOT analysis here, or risk assessment, guys. For those of you who don't know, right, SWOT analysis is an acronym for when you analyze a company's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right? You just look at this company, pretty basic, right? What are your strengths? You have the license. You have an iconic license. It's a strong nostalgia appeal. What are your weaknesses? Well, I have a limited roster. My materials are not that good. There's no online play. Okay, what opportunities do you have? Well, there is a strong retro gaming community, right? And there is an opportunity to get in there if you have an affordable entry to the market. Right? What are the threats? I mean, this is just simple. Arcade went up, right? They are your biggest threat, right? There's also the Chinese market, whatever, but in retail, for the customers that we're talking about, it's arcade went up, right? And when you're delivering less than your top competitor, you're always in trouble. It doesn't take a genius. You don't need a college degree for that. But it's like they had no operational insights in here. From an operations management perspective, right? If I was to walk in there and I'm the operations manager all of a sudden, and I'm looking at this and you gave it to me, right? I would have to trace back all the problems, right? I have to do a root cause analysis, that type of stuff. And the failure you can trace back to quality control, poor alignment between design and production, the cabinet's inconsistent control panel, based on what I've seen on the internet, right? The quality is not that great and you're missing premium touches, good marquee lighting, Wi-Fi. And those are cheap things, guys. I mean, when you're talking about China, I've been working in manufacturing for a long time. The one thing that gets me with these cabinets, guys, is the lighting. It is insane that they can't get the lighting right. Guys, you can get an LED light that will light the crap out of any marquee for about $5 landed price here. Can you imagine what it is in China? You can get it a lot cheaper. So this is just poor operational planning, right? It shows very weak integration between, product design and procurement and manufacturing. So that team is lacking. Somebody needs to get in there, and do good work. Right. So, when I walk in there, I could see that right away, and people can see it when they open the product. Now, had, Basic Fun applied like a total quality management principles to their processes and make it a customer-driven company and do testing, that would have had balanced cost and quality. They could have done continuous feedback with the community, but they're not even doing that. So what are the takeaways that you can have out there if you're building products, or if you want to build products like this? You have to listen to your customers before production. Right? You have to invest in total quality management when it comes to production. Right? You have to benchmark your competitors rigorously. You have to validate your pricing out there in the market. You do. You have to run risk analysis, SWOT analysis, use basic business tools that are available to any professional out there, right? You need to hire somebody. You need to hire a good consultant, or the person running your operation has to be experienced in manufacturing. You need to integrate operations and marketing decisions in a team setting, and avoid shortcuts in order not to destroy your reputation. Let's just wrap it up. The Basic Fun, if you will. And what a name, right? Basic Fun cabinet here shows what happens when companies they skip essential business analysis practices. Nostalgia alone can't build a good cabinet, right? It can't overcome a poorly executed manufacturing process and procedure. You have to align the vision, your teams, everybody has to buy in order to build a quality product, and that comes straight from the customers. They'll tell you what they buy and at what price. Instead, this really just became a reminder of what operation management and analysis does when it goes wrong, when somebody doesn't know what they're doing. I mean, they fumbled the ball in this one, and they had everything going for them. You guys tell me what you think. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.